On this week's Gridiron Report, we have the Lions winning on Thursday Night Football against the Cowboys, some Michigan and Michigan State college basketball, and then Grid of the Week. And it's all brought to you by Pins and Aces, our favorite spot for all your golf apparel needs. Use promo code GRIT for 21% off any product at pinsandaces.com. Let's get into it.
In the heart of the city where the lights grow dim, grit and grind every inch, every rim, from the underdogs rising to the legends that win. It's the Gridiron Report, let the games begin. Every highlight's a journey, roads paved with fire, sweat, tears, and hustle that never expire. From the rookies on the rise to the old hands retire. Gridiron is the place for fans to conspire. Hustle on blast, beats thundering loud. Champions are born from the roar of the crowd. The Gridiron Report, where the stories are found.
Welcome to the Gridiron Report, your Lions First All Detroit Sports podcast presented by Mic Drop Studios. Today is Wednesday, December 9th, and the Lions' playoff hopes are still alive, albeit on life support still after beating the Cowboys on Thursday night, 44-30. This was a confusing game for me. Let's just dive right into this with our overall thoughts on it. It was a confusing game because at times I felt like the Lions really were putting it to the Cowboys. The Cowboys were one of the hottest teams in the NFL coming into the week. Well, obviously get to the Rams, who I think are the hottest team in the NFL at the moment. But the Cowboys were looking really good coming into this week. That offense was humming. Dak had the guys playing really, really well. Javonte Williams having this resurgence. And so coming into Thursday night, the Cowboys were playing really well. And at times, I felt like we looked really, really good, but then you end up looking at the score. It's still just 44. We still put up they still allowed 30 points, 44-30. I had a hard time really putting my thumb on this game and deciding whether I thought we played really well or just kind of barely squeaked by. I had a hard time gauging this game, but either way, we got it done Thursday night, and our playoff hopes are still alive.
There was definitely some ups and downs, right? It was back and forth. I will say though that the Lions, overall they played really well. We never trailed in the game, so it was a commanding game from that aspect. I want to touch on something that you said. You said that we're still on life support, which is technically true, but I do think, and I haven't seen this publicized yet, but this is Keel's math here. I believe we control our own destiny. We have, and that's with the tiebreaker. We would have the tiebreaker with the Bears. Obviously, control your own destiny means, if you win out, you're in. I believe we are in win out and in mode. Is that?
Yeah, so we're in, and we can get more into the crazy scenarios later down the line if we want, or we can just do it right now. If we win out, we're in. Absolutely. We finish the season 4-0, we're in the playoffs, no problem there. If we finish 3-1, there's a very good chance we're still in. I think it's around, depending on what that loss ends up coming as, or I should say to whom, we are likely still in. I think it's 85, 90%. Of course, if that loss is at the very end of the year against the Bears, I think that odds drop to somewhere in the 70s, which is still pretty good to be in the playoffs. So you're right. We do still control our own destiny. And as much as this doesn't seem likely, there is still a chance in which we could win the division. I believe, again, similar to your math, This is just my dumb math. If we win out, and then I think the Bears have to beat the Packers, and the Packers have to lose to the Broncos. I believe it's the Broncos or the Ravens. I think it could be either or. So again, the Bears beat the Packers, and then the Packers lose to either the Broncos or the Ravens. We win out. We still win the division. So I think that's kind of on life support. I think that's a little bit too many different pieces that had to fall into place. But you're right. Just making the playoffs in general, we definitely still control our own destiny.
Okay. And I think for me, and I think everyone in Detroit's probably in this camp, but I think the NFC North is all but lost at this point. I need the Bears to keep losing. I think we're all in the fuck the Bears territory here. Keep losing. I think that's our best chance to get a wild card spot. Essentially, I mean, granted, there's still 5 weeks left. Things could shake out, but just where the Rams are right now, where the Niners are right now, it really seems like that last 7 seed is the one that's the most up for grabs, and the Bears have that right now. So obviously, NFC North opponent, Lions play that one more time. Like we said, the Lions do control their own destiny. I think that at this point, it's fuck the Bears, and just keep winning. And probably not necessarily in that order. Just keep winning first and foremost. We're gonna break down this massive game coming up on Sunday. But I think let's not jump ahead of ourselves too much. Let's dive into this Cowboys game right now. Before we do, sorry about the tangents, Tyler. I just got to go on one more real quick. Your mustache is just it's partying right now. It is out and about, man. So for anyone Obviously, if you're listening to this, follow us on our socials at Gridiron Report. You will see just awesome clips of Tyler, hopefully in the next couple of days with this mustache. But I just had to say.
Well, I thank you. I didn't know if the camera could pick it up. I was rocking the beard all November. My wife absolutely hates the beard, so I had to shave it eventually. And if you have a beard, you might as well like slowly dwindle down to nothing, right? You got to do a mustache for a few days. So I thought I'd sneak in a few days. Did not know that my company holiday party was today when I was in the office. So everyone was there. Everyone got to see my mustache. But that's neither here nor there. But I appreciate the comments. Yeah, everyone go follow us on all forms of social media so you guys can see the wonderful mustache that I'm rocking. But back to the game. Yes. Offensively, I mean, we put up 44 points. This was back to, again, the ground game, got the ground game going. I don't have the stat in front of me. I think we're 6-0 this season in games in which Jahmyr Gibbs scores a touchdown, which is, it's so obvious how this offense is run. It's all run through being able to get the ground game going. And then, of course, that's like obvious, right? If you get the ground game going, that means the offensive line is working pretty well. That means the safeties and the cornerbacks have to kind of sneak up a little bit to stop the run. Then you can take off the top. So like it all does make sense. But this is another game where Monty and David Montgomery and Jahmyr Gibbs both scored a touchdown. It's the 15th time they officially surpassed Emmett and Daryl Johnson for the most by a running back duo in NFL history. Gibbs scored 3 times. He had 3 touchdowns today, not just one. He had 3 touchdowns today. Now he's 47 total in his career before the age of 24, which ties Barry's for obviously the most touchdowns in NFL history before the age of 24. Still 4 games left. You can only imagine he's going to break Barry's record there. So really, really great. I mean, the ground game was just awesome. I'm glad David Montgomery finally got involved again. At the end of the day, I don't feel like he did that much other than that. He finished with 60 yards on 6 carries. So pretty efficient, 10 per carry in his touchdown. But over half of those came on that one run, which I believe ended up being the touchdown. So I'm glad we got him going. But we've been saying it for all season. It all starts with getting the run game going.
Hell yeah. And I want to give one last, just special shout out to David Montgomery, just specifically on that run, that touchdown run where, I mean, I'm going to put my hand up. I think I either, turned to talk to like my girlfriend or like, maybe went to my phone after he got contacted like 3 different times. I just kind of assumed that he was going to get tackled. And then next thing I know, I'm looking up and he's trotting in the end zone. So hand up, that one's on me. I think Monty broke like 5 or 6 tackles in that play. That's just what he does. He's been gritty ever since he got into the league, but certainly ever since he came to Detroit. We love David Montgomery, and it's just great to see him get going. He's had a bit of an up and down season, obviously taking a back seat to Gibbs, who is incredible, but it just goes to show that Monty is still, very much a part of this offense. Really great to see. I thought just, the running game, obviously, like, it was a bit up and down. Like yards per carries, we weren't great, but then, 4 touchdowns on the ground. That's always a good thing. Jared, I thought was solid too. He wasn't anything stellar, but 25 of 34, 309 yards, that lone touchdown pass to Isaac Tesla. So I just thought that the offense just in general, they were clicking on all cylinders. And I think probably my biggest takeaway from the offense is just how good we were in the red zone. 4 or 5 in the red zone, just finishing drives. You just really felt that once, when the team got down there into the red zone, into, deep into the Cowboys territory, that they were just going to finish it off, and they did every time. And Gibbs was obviously insane, and Monty had one too. But yeah, just, you go 4 or 5 in the red zone, you're gonna have a lot of success in the NFL. So just loved what I saw there. Really, just in general, I mentioned it, but the offense, just the lines never trailed. At times the game got close. We'll break down the defense. We'll break down kind of more of the ebbs and flows of the game, and how the Cowboys played, and they certainly played well. But just every time that the Lions needed an answer, it seemed like they got it from the offense. So yeah, just great to see. One last thing, we own these motherfuckers in Dallas. Like 91 points dropped on their heads the last 2 games. Like holy shit, dude! What a couple of ass kickings. It's fantastic.
It feels good to beat Dallas. Obviously, we had the 2-point conversion of the skipper reporting whole dilemma a few years ago. So it's good just to put an ass beat down and, don't let the refs make mistakes like that. I mean, at the end of the day, defense playing well, defense not playing well. If you do the following things, you're going to have success with this offense. You convert in the red zone, like you just mentioned, 4 or 5, great day in the red zone. You dominate the line of scrimmage, which gets you offensive running game going, gives Jared more time. You're gonna be able to score points, and I don't care how good or bad your defense is playing. You put up 44 points, you should be able to win that game. Sticking with some of the good, Amon-Ra St. Brown, we didn't know if he was going to play this game. He ended up playing at the last minute. He was questionable with that ankle injury. It just kind of shows how tough he is. I think 80% of receivers in the NFL are not playing. with that ankle injury that he had. Shows just kind of what heart he has, the toughness he is. He's one of our captains for a reason, or I believe he's one of our captains. If not, he should be. He is really one of the leaders in that locker room. It just shows that he is, tough as hell. He ended up having a really great day, finished with 6 catches on 92 yards, an average of 15.3, his long of 37. I mean, you don't see a receiver with an ankle injury like that play, let alone have the stat line that he did. JMO was great again. He was tied with Sun God for targets in the game with 9. He had finished with 96 yards on basically, and then an inch away from scoring that end around touchdown. Just barely stepped out of bounds on like the 2-yard line, and then dove for the end zone, got in, but they called him out. So JMO, another great game. That's really 3 to 4 games in a row in which, since Dan Campbell took back over play calling, that we've seen JMO be involved in a big way. Obviously, it coincides with a lot of injuries. It coincides with really needing him. But also, like I said, Dan Campbell taking over play call. He's not afraid to use JMO like Johnny Morton maybe was a little bit. So glad to see him in there. I will say, though, that's all the great stuff. And with 44 points, I agree with you. Jared took care of the ball. We were very clean offense. I liked it. I was a little bit concerned. Penei Sewell let up another sack, which is now the 4th game in a row that he's let up a sack from one of, if not the best offensive linemen in the NFL. That's a little concerning stat. There's been times and plays he's been pretty much like dogged on the offensive line, whether it's from Micah Parsons. This week it was against James Houston, former defensive lineman for the Lions, who's now with Dallas. Would love to have him. We ended up just letting him go, and now he's with Dallas. He got just dog walked by James Houston in the first quarter. And it's not, James Houston isn't Micah Parsons. It's not Myles Garrett. James Houston is just a guy who got cut on our team because he wasn't performing anymore. Like, I don't know. I'm a little bit concerned that, and I shouldn't be, because it's literally just going from like world-class offensive lineman, easily Hall of Fame, like trajectory, to just being like really, really good. So like, it's not like he's really struggling, but 4 games with a sack allowed in a row with Jared, who needs a clean pocket, is a little bit concerning for me.
Yeah, it's concerning for sure. I feel like he's gotten cooked. It's almost like he's dealing with some kind of undisclosed injury that like we just haven't heard of, like the media hasn't been privy to. Because it's very un-Penei like to give up any sacks, let alone a handful in 3 or 4 games in a row. He's still been good. I think that his PFF grades among right tackles in the league are still very, very high. But yeah, we're used to him being, the best of the best. A guy where if he gets beat, you're scratching your head like, whoa, that is rare. And it's been a bit less rare this season. So obviously, you're obviously not hoping that he's dealing with some kind of injury, but it's almost like maybe he's got something. It's the NFL. Everyone's got something. If you're not tweak, you got like a hamstring or something tweaked, then you're not playing hard enough, right?
Mm-hmm.
Everyone's got injuries, especially now we're in week 15 of the season. But so yeah, we'll see if maybe something comes out. Again, hopefully it's nothing too serious. And I don't know, maybe it's just couple bad games, maybe just an off season for him, and he'll come back better than ever next year. But yeah, it's been a bit head scratching for sure. Just in general, like the offensive line has not been awesome this season. We've been on this show and we've talked about it a ton, but I thought that they were, they were pretty good on Thursday, protecting Jared, certainly protecting him enough to get the job done there. Yeah, you mentioned St. Brown. What an absolute dog. Just like this is our guy, where like we know he's the gritty guy. He's the guy that is drafted later in rounds, and he's like, what, chip on your shoulder type of guy. I'm just gonna go out there and still be better than you. I'm gonna go out there off a low ankle sprain that some wide receiver prima donnas would be out for 2, 3, 4 weeks, and he's just gonna go out there and not miss any time. I think he knew. Obviously, this team knows that like they're in must-win scenarios in every single game down the stretch. He knew that you can't take a game off. Maybe you're only 70%, but you gotta give your team your all, and you got to get out there and you got to honestly, take a little bit of risk and risk re-injury, knowing that this team needs you and they need you to win. That's exactly what St. Brown did. He was awesome, man. 6 for 92, but a couple just big time runs. Runs after the yards after the catch. Like it seemed like he was moving almost as good as he usually does. It seemed like he was a little bit hindered, but nothing too crazy. He was out there and flying, man. So I give all the credit to St. Brown. That's just what this team is built on. This team is built on being absolute fucking dogs, having that grit, going out there and saying like, hey, I'm only 60%, but I'm still gonna give you 110. I'm going to punch you in the mouth. That's exactly what St. Brown did.
Yeah, and a season that he's had his struggles this season. We've talked about it ad nauseum about how he's had an uncharacteristic amount of drops. So to see him out there, let alone playing and then, like you said, having the yards after catch, not just like making the catches and then kind of dropping and taking the yardage, having the 20, 30 yards after catch is huge. So he kind of set the tone. I mean, shout out to Jahmyr Gibbs, who on top of his 12 carries for 43 yards and 3 touchdowns, he had 7 receptions for 77 yards on 7 targets. He was 7 for 7 on targets. Obviously, those are mostly all checkdowns, so to go 7 for 7 makes sense. But 7 targets for 77 yards through the air, that's huge. Shout out Isaac Tesla, got another touchdown under his belt. He had just 2 catches for 20 yards out of his 3 targets, but ended up having another touchdown. So, yeah, everyone kind of just getting the ball, really spreading the ball around. They're going to need to do that with all these injuries, with the Sam Laporta, who technically could come back this week, but still not confirmed to be out for the year. But everyone thinks he's going to be out for the year. I'm about to try and get an update on that. But with all the injuries and everything, we're going to need to be able to spread the ball around. And if Gibbs is going to continue to just be that check down Charlie, if the offensive line isn't holding up, which we're going to need him to here when we get into our preview with the Rams, I'll take Gibbs being 7 for 7, just right at the line of scrimmage for 77 yards. Like, sign me up for that 10 times out of 10, as long as you then take the top off with JMO every now and again to keep him guessing a little bit.
Hell yeah. And, we mentioned JMO a couple times, but just want to give him another shout out, man. Like, his usage is up big time. You mentioned that it's, basically ever since Dan Campbell took over, they're like, making more of a concerted effort to get him the ball. And it's been awesome, man. He has, that 1-0 catch game, but besides that, he has been the guy. And like you said, he was probably a couple inches away from another touchdown on that end around. So yeah, he's been awesome. He's showing up like full, face guard, whatever you want to call that. Like, he's the man. He's JMO, man. And he's been cooking fools. We will need him to pop off. We need him to have another huge game against the Rams before we're not jumping into that quite yet. Anything else on the offensive side before we break down this Lions defense?
No, let's jump over to the defensive side, because like I said to start the show, it was a little bit confusing just for me, because there were times where I thought they looked really good, and then you look at the final score, we still let up 30 points. We had 3 sacks, or I think actually 5 sacks. We had 5 sacks, 3 of them coming from Al-Quadin Muhammad, who now leads the team with 9 sacks. Like, I thought Al-Quadin Muhammad was great. I thought outside of him, Jack Campbell, it was obviously Jack Campbell. Brian Branch had a fumble recovery from the Jack Campbell peanut punch that he's gotten so good at, that the NFL had to come out and basically, if you remember the first week of the season, came out and said, like, hey, you can't just come in running on tackles and swinging at guys, and if you miss, you just punch them in the stomach, but if you hit it, you can't do that. He played that perfectly. Brian Branch ended up getting the fumble recovery. Obviously, he went down with his injury. We can cover that here in a few minutes. But I will say the 2 guys that I was really displeased with throughout this game, one, Amik Robertson, and I know we are just decimated in the secondary. Kirby Joseph still questionable to come back this week. I guess he was back at practice again. Going to have to have a good week of practice to come back and play against the Rams, apparently. Brian Branch obviously goes down with his injury. You haven't had Enos Rakestraw since his entire career. You haven't had a number of these guys
since he was in college. Yeah,
literally. And so, like, I know we're really struggling a little bit, but Amik Robertson has been getting torched the last few weeks. This week, Ryan Flournoy, who the hell is Ryan Flournoy? He absolutely had a day against Amik Robertson. Had 115 yards and a touchdown on 13 targets. Amik Robertson, you're supposed to be this guy that talks the talk and walks the walk. You were getting absolutely torched. And then the other guy that I was pretty frustrated with was Hutch. And I know Hutch has this knack to, like, when it comes down and we actually need him to do something, towards the end of the game, he seems like he can, salvage his day in some way or another. But I mean, your $45 million man finished with 3 total tackles. In my opinion, that's unacceptable. Thank God you had Al-Quadin Muhammad, who set the tone with 3 sacks on the day. But Hutchinson having 3 total tackles on a day in which, like you said with Amon-Ra St. Brown, these guys know it's basically win or go home at this point. 3 total tackles is unacceptable, in my opinion.
Yeah, and I think we need to, we're probably both looking at the same box score right now. I think maybe we need some better box scores, but I don't have the pressures in front of me. But yeah, just the eye test. Watching that game, obviously no sacks for Hutch. I think he was in the mix on a couple of those sacks. Didn't get any half sacks or anything like that, I don't believe. But yeah, we need more out of him. I think he'd be the first to tell you that we need more out of Aiden Hutchinson. Yeah, I don't know. Not much more to say there. It's, they still won the game, but I mean, you're coming up against the game of the season. the most important game of the season, I should say, for the Lions against the Rams. And you're going to need sacks from Aiden Hutchinson. No other way to put it. And I'm hoping he steps up. I think he will. We know how good he is. He's just been slumping a little bit. And that's really disappointing to say. But yeah, just defense overall. I think I just want to start with the bad briefly, just because I did think there was quite a bit of good, but the bad, DJ Reed got cooked up and down the field. Don't necessarily have all the stats in front of me as far as, how often he was thrown at, how many yards he gave up, but it just seemed like every time I'm looking up, it's DJ Reed. And granted, he has a tall task. Like he had CeeDee Lamb in the first half. Granted, CeeDee Lamb goes down with that injury, halfway through the game, but it just seemed like Lamb was winning every single one of those, one-on-one matchups against DJ Reed. So maybe it's a scheme thing. Maybe it's, and I've actually been saying this for a few weeks now. We just need to run less man. I think the Lions, they still run more man coverage than any other team in the league. There's got to be a fucking reason why other teams don't run it more. It's because these wide receivers are so damn good now. They're faster. They know the route that they're running, but they're faster and taller than these corners. It's just asking a lot to, put your corners on an island, time in and time out when there are other schemes that have been just as effective, a too high zone scheme, which just seems like the Lions don't want to do. And lo and behold, we're getting cooked up and down the field. It'd be one thing if we had one or two all-pro corners. Obviously, that'd be incredible. Any team who has that is going to be, primed to win on the defensive side. But we don't have that. We have a guy in Terry Arnold who, he hasn't played a lot this season. He's being injury prone. He's been up and down. DJ Reed, supposed to be a good veteran presence, right in the prime of his career. I haven't seen much out of him this year to make me think that, this was a fantastic signing. I think it was a decent signing, but he's been getting cooked up and down the field. So something's got to change, man. I think we just have to scheme it up better where, we know these cornerbacks are who they are. They're decent. They're pretty good. They're not fantastic. I think they need more help. And that's that. I'll get off the soapbox now, but I just thought that that guy specifically needed to do better.
Yeah, I mean, you mentioned CeeDee Lamb went out in that was at the third quarter with his head injury. He still finished with 121 pass or reception yards. That's crazy to only play a little more than half a game and have 121. I mean, yeah. I already mentioned Amik Robertson getting torched by Flournoy. You mentioned DJ Reed being torched by CD. I think one of those is a little bit worse than the other, just because CD is CD. You're right. That's a tall task. I did look up Hutch's pressures, and I want to say something real quick. I'm not aiming this towards you, I'm just so over the pressures stat, because at PFF, I used to be a huge PFF guy. Then, you watch these games and you clearly this guy struggled all day. You could look at DJ Reed, or you look at, Amik Robertson, and you watch their game and you can see these guys getting torched. And then you go over to PFF and you're like, well, actually he had the second best PFF rating in the entire week. And there's that, it just doesn't line up with the eye test. Aiden Hutchinson this week had a total of 9 pressures on 54 pass rushing snaps, including one quarterback hit. He had a stellar 90.2 PFF pass rushing grade, and an elite, this is PFF wording, elite 35.4 pass rusher win rate. But he had 3 total tackles. So I feel like pressures is almost something that people are hiding behind and pointing and being like, well, no, look, he's getting pressures, but I don't feel him changing a game and dominate. I'm not afraid of him like I am when every single time Micah Parsons is on the field. And Micah Parsons, when they snap the ball, Micah Parsons is disrupting every single play. And I think Hutch is right there with Micah. I think they're 2 of the best defensive linemen in the NFL. And I just don't feel it with Aiden. So pressures-wise, you're right. He did have a good game pressure-wise. Total tackle-wise, only had 3. But the last thing I'll say is, you mentioned DJ Reed and guarding CeeDee Lamb being a tall task. It's clever wording, because with Brian Branch going down, Kirby Joseph going down and still being out, you had who was the other guy I'm thinking of? Terry Arnold going down. All 3 of those guys, 6 foot. With those 3 6-footers out in our secondary, our average height of our secondary is 5'9". 5'9" for our entire secondary. That's 4 guys. I mean, I think there's one 5'10" guy. There's a 5'7", a 5'8", and a 5'9". Our entire secondary's average height is 5'9". So literally, it was a tall task for to tackle CeeDee Lamb and to guard CeeDee Lamb. Maybe that's why that just points even more so why we shouldn't be running man and we should be running zone to kind of help each other out, because we're getting toasted. The little guys are getting toasted out there.
We gotta stand up for the little guys, man. And that hits near and dear, dude. If these guys are listed at 5'9", they are damn near not. They're damn sure not 5'9". These guys are like 5'8" or below. These guys are literally my height out there trying to guard like a CeeDee Lamb who's like 6 whatever and runs a 4.37 40. Like, yeah, dude, what an absolute tall task. Going back to Hutch just real quick, just want to put a, just to cap that off real quick. I mean, we know why pressures are so widely, regarded in the NFL. We don't have to, school the listeners on this, but just that, it's pressures do lead to sacks over time. Sacks are obviously more of a team metric. It's not like, it's just one-on-one, it's 11 on 11. So a lot happens in the 7 seconds or 6 seconds of an NFL play to get to a sack. But, pressures you can actually count and say like, hey, this guy has actually been disruptive because of X, Y, Z. Now, what we did point out last show is that even though the Lions are really good at getting to the quarterback in pressures, the time that it takes them to is last in the league. And so at that point, does the pressure even matter? If you're pressuring Dak, but if you're pressuring him at like 4 seconds after he has the ball, when all of his receivers are already running down the field on our 5'7", midget wide, cornerbacks, no offense to our guys, but does that pressure even matter at that point? I would argue, and I think everyone would argue that no, it doesn't really matter because Dak already had all the time in the world. I am with you in the fact that, Hutch just has not looked as disruptive this year as he has in previous years. Again, I think that if you're Aiden Hutchinson, you're probably agreeing with that if you hear that from the media. Like, I think that if you're the guy, you have to be as disruptive as like a Micah Parsons. If you're paid as much, and we know that Aiden Hutchinson is good enough to be, the top dog in the league. Yeah. Obviously, that's why we paid him. But yeah, it just seemed like he hasn't quite been that guy for a little while now. Again, we're not sounding an alarm, but we're just saying, we are 8-5. We're in a must-win scenario for all of our games down the stretch, including just colossal games against the teams like the Rams. We need you because this team has flaws and we're far from perfect. And we need guys to really step up and get us there. If we want to go to the playoffs, so we want to make it a run in the playoffs, like we need Hutch to be the best, defensive end in the league, getting to the quarterback quick and really making a difference there. So I definitely agree with you in that sense.
Yeah. So either way, Lions end up getting the win there. We didn't get out unscathed. We had a few injuries throughout that game. We mentioned Brian Branch. He went down on a play. Remind me, this was the play that there was a few kind of missed calls by the refs, I think. There was one of the plays that probably should have been called dead. Wasn't called dead. And anyways, Brian Branch ends up going down with an Achilles injury. Kind of feared the worst, and then news came out that he will be out for the year with a torn Achilles. Did some research into it. That can oftentimes have anywhere between a 9 to 11 month recovery. So we're pushing next year, maybe a return by September, maybe October next year. So really unfortunate for a Lions secondary that has already been decimated. Losing Brian Branch, one of the absolute dogs in that secondary. Not having a super, super great season, but still, again, one of the leaders back there, just an absolute dog. We already talked about Kirby Joseph. Kirby, again, is questionable leading up into this week. Dan Campbell said he's going to have to put together a really good few practices in order to play on Sunday. Still not entirely sure what's going on with him. Can't really confirm. Going to really need him back there in the legion of... I don't want to... I'm thinking of something over my head to thinking about the legion of guys under 5'9". There's got to be
some kind of there's a short joke in there. If you're a listener, yeah, there's definitely a short joke in there. We don't have it. We don't have it right now.
Call in with your greatest legion of guys under 5'9" for our Lions secondary. But we're definitely going to need him back again. He's a 6-footer, so he's going to help there. In order to sort of offset some of these injuries, the Lions went out and signed veteran Damontae Kazee. Damontae Kazee, former 5th round draft pick, I believe. Kazee. You don't know Damontae Kazee, the veteran journeyman?
No, that's a made up name. There's no way that's a real person.
No, he's a former 5th round draft pick from the Atlanta Falcons, 2017. He was there for a few years. He played with 52 games, starting 34 of them in 2018. He was actually the NFL's interception leader He had 7 interceptions to go with 82 tackles and 10 pass breakups. Entered the league as a cornerback and then slowly made a transition over to safety. So he's played a little bit of both. Had spent time in Dallas, spent time with the Steelers. Most recently played with the Browns earlier this year and was waived in November after the two sides decided to part ways. So we brought him in to the practice squad with the expectation to kind of fast track him into the starting lineup with all the injuries, with Terry and Arnold being out for the rest of the year, now Brian Branch being out for the rest of the year. So a guy that is not going to hurt this team, based on how many injuries we have. Former interception leader. If you look up just do yourself a favor, look up some of his highlights, specifically when he was with the Steelers back in 2022, I believe. This guy can lay the fucking wood. He takes guys' heads off. So if nothing else, it'll be fun to watch. A journeyman that can maybe help lessen this load a little bit. But yeah, some really brutal injuries that just keep coming this year.
All right. Well, shit, maybe I don't know ball then, because this guy led the league in interceptions not too terribly long ago.
Almost a decade ago.
Yeah, I suppose. Still, I might not be a ball knower. But yeah, hey, if he lays the wood and he's above the height of 5'7", we will take him.
Wait, let's see. Let me see.
He's gotta be. I'm gonna say he's at least 5'11".
He's exactly 5'11", so he does raise our average up a tiny bit. Doesn't quite get us into the 6-foot range, but he's now our tallest guy in the secondary.
All right. Well, nailed that. Maybe I do know ball. I know height at least, but yeah, just to put a little bow on this defensive effort against the Cowboys. There was quite a bit of good. I feel like we've been a little negative on this defense, and probably rightfully so. Just getting gashed. But again, this Cowboys team was one of the hottest in the league coming up into that game against Detroit. So I think all in all, this defense played pretty well. Obviously, well enough to win. Forced 3 turnovers. Those turnovers were huge. I think it was two interceptions on Dak, then a forced fumble as well. So I mean, you win that turnover battle, even if you are giving up yards between the 20s. If you're winning that battle, that's always a good thing. I mean, I think obviously Dallas did move the ball easily. Dallas is a great team. They're a great offense. They are pretty much the number 1 or number 2 ranked offense in the league. So that's probably to be expected. And I think we were probably a little bit lucky to have CeeDee Lamb go down with that concussion halfway through the game, or else he might have been putting up Calvin numbers. He was on pace for over 200. So yeah, there's, a bit of injury luck there. That happens. Obviously we were injury unlucky with Brian Branch. That absolutely fucking sucks. But I thought the run defense was good once again. I feel like just time and time again, this, Detroit Lions run defense is, top 10 in the league. Don't have the numbers right in front of me, but Javonte Williams, just 3.9 yards per carry. You take that all every day, twice on Thursdays. Yeah, obviously CD is going to get his, but all in all, I mean, I thought that the defense did a really great job of limiting George Pickens. I will say, just 5 catches for 37 yards for Pickens. He is one of the up and coming wide receivers in this league. That 1-2 punch of CD and Pickens. It's one of the best in the league. In a really great pickup for Dallas. So yeah, thought that they were great limiting him. I thought a lot of that was actually on Pickens. Like if you looked at the tape on Pickens, there's some his routes are floating around like Twitter and Instagram, and the effort was just horrible. Don't know what's going on there, but some of those routes were, just the absolute antithesis of like a Jamison Williams like fly down the field and then stomp route. His George Pickens stomp routes on Thursday was. It was laughable, man. So yeah, so maybe that's not all on the Lions defense, but again, a great young talent limited to just 37 yards. So yeah, I thought overall, yes, this defense, they did enough to win, but you need more of an effort, especially going forward, especially against this best team in the league, in my opinion, in the Rams coming to town. So yeah, it's going to be a tough one.
Yeah, so that's a great segue. Let's go to a quick break, and then when we come back, we will break down that game against one of the hottest teams in the NFL, the LA Rams. All right, welcome back to the report. Lions at Rams. I think thinking back to before the season started, you and I both had us losing this game, and or maybe I had us winning. I think you always had us losing this game. Called the Rams being extremely good this season. Seems like you are right on track with that. The Rams look like an absolute juggernaut. I believe they are the Super Bowl favorites at this point. I went to lay a future on them as they were putting a beat down on the Cardinals last week, and I believe, if I remember correctly, they were already the favorites. So let's start our preview of this game with guessing the line. Kyle, the Lions going out to SoFi Stadium, what's the line going to be?
Yeah, so I guess just real quick, just before I guess the line, yes, preseason I did have this as a loss, and that was when, if you remember, Tyler, that was when Matthew Stafford was still coming off of kind of a back injury. Some people were like, is he going to play? Is he not? Is he going to miss time? And even back then, I'm like, yeah, I think this is probably a spot where I like the Rams. It's just really just for me, it was a revenge game from the last 2 seasons. Regular season, I think it was the beginning of the regular season last year when the Lions beat the Rams, and then obviously the game before that for the Rams was the playoff game where the Lions picked up their first playoff win in way too long. Yeah. But yeah, so yeah, the Lions have been hot against the Rams recently. I think 2-0 in the last 2 against Matthew Stafford. So I just felt like it was a spot where the Rams were probably going to win, and then. Fast forward to now, good God. I mean, this team's a juggernaut. I mean, Matthew Stafford is, for me, he's the clear MVP. He's been incredible. You got Puka Nacua, who he just keeps going, man. I mean, he's their yardage monster. Davante Adams, who he was leading the league in touchdown receptions. I believe it's still the case. But regardless, I mean, he's still got it and then some. I mean, Tay is awesome. We're all big Tay fans. Yeah. Lions at Rams. This is, I mean, easily Rams favorite. I just don't know by how much. I'm gonna go Rams -3.5, but I could see it more. But I'm locking in 3.5.
Yeah, this is usually you're right on with these. A little bit off here. They have the Lions or I should say the Rams at -5.5. So they have it even worse. Man. And you know what? I think I'd go even further. I think I would even go to the Rams -6.5. I think I would push that a whole point just to give my real quick thoughts on this game because I am scared. I'm terrified of this team. If it was at Ford Field, I could sit at the 4. I could sit at like 4.5 and 3.5 and maybe be sitting there. But at SoFi, granted, it's the Rams. LA naturally doesn't have that many fans. If they do, they are Rams fans as opposed to the Chargers. But yeah, I mean, you laid it out. This team is insane. Just starting with the offense, this offense is firing on all cylinders. You laid it out really, really well, but Puka Nacua is just downfield nonstop. You have the best red zone target in Davante Adams. He is I mean, it's almost like a cheat code when they get to as someone who has Davante Adams on his fantasy team, when they get within the 5-yard line, it's literally just spamming fades to the corner to Davante Adams. And for a team that has, middle schoolers and heights out there in the secondary, Davante Adams is going to moss us left and right. I mean, I think he's just going to go nuts on our short little cornerbacks there in the corner of the end zone. He is so good there. I mean, I think their running game hasn't been as great as it has been in the last few years. But you still have Kyren Williams and Blake Corum, who's a great 1-2 punch. This offense, the scoring offense for the Rams in points per game, they come in just behind Detroit. Because Detroit put up 44, we now actually sit first in the league with 30.3 points per game. The Rams are at fourth with 29.2, so basically right behind. I feel like if you watched any of our games and watch any of their games, I feel like they should be way above us. I think there's been games in which we can't even move the ball, and I feel like the Rams have just offensively moved the ball at will. But their offensive line is fantastic. They keep Matthew Stafford upright tremendously. They're top in the league in sacks allowed, or I should say the lack of sacks allowed. They're great in the red zone, top of the league, and the red zone scoring percentages. I mean, this is a very scary offense, like you mentioned, led by Matthew Stafford, who is quite possibly having the best year of his career in year 18 or something like that.
Yeah, dude, Stafford. And I mean, we love the guy. It's awesome to see him balling, but until he plays you and you're like, fuck, this guy still got it, man. Yeah, just like you just look at it on paper, and this is just not a good matchup at all. I mean, our banged up secondary obviously just lost Brian Branch for the season. This is a spot where, Kirby Joseph, if you're coming back, you better come back for this game. Even if it's a Amon-Ra St. Brown type status where, you're coming back probably a little earlier than you should. Again, we don't want to, I mean, if the risk of re-injury is, skyrocketed by coming back and playing, obviously don't. But if there's any way that you can come and play and give 80%, Kirby Joseph's 80% is still night and day better than any of our, third, fourth string guys who are, being asked to step up and answer the bell right now. So yeah, Kirby, we fucking need you so bad this game because Puka and Devontae Adams and the likes. Like this Rams offense just clicking on all cylinders. They score 28 points per game. They're amazing in the red zone. Like they're obviously very well coached. They don't make mistakes. I mean, this is a McVay masterclass. Like he is getting the very most out of this roster, this very good roster, top to bottom, offense, defense, special teams. I mean, this Rams team is just damn fucking good. And any question mark that this team had, in the preseason with, health or anything like that, I mean, they have just answered all of that in tenfold. They're fantastic. I mean, we don't want to suck them off too much, but like this Rams team is damn good. So I think this is a situation where, if you're looking at if you're the Lions defense, you pretty much have to sell out to stop the pass. I mean, you mentioned it, this Rams, passing attack is outstanding. The rushing attack is kind of more middle tier, maybe 13th, 14th ranked in the league. So they are, not fantastic. They still have guys though. I mean, Kyren Williams was never a guy where he's going to, rip off an average, 5 or 6 yards per carry like a Jahmyr Gibbs would. But, he's more of a volume guy. He, if he's getting 15, 20 yards a carry, he's going to work you down. He's going to wear you down and gash you. And he's really good at finding the end zone. He has been his entire career. So I do think it's a spot where this Lions defense, you almost have to sell out to stop the pass. And I wouldn't be surprised if, Kyren Williams or, maybe even Blake Corum, rips off a few long runs. But I just think it's where, you gotta have more defensive backs out there, and you really got to try to stop Puka Nacua and Devontae Adams. It's almost an impossible task, but I feel like you got to sell out and you got to be okay with just having fewer guys in the box to stop this run. It's just, it's kind of like a pick your poison. I would rather the Rams try to run the ball than throw it on us.
That's going to be exactly it. You're going to stop. Puka Nacua is second in the NFL in receiving yards with 1,186, just behind Jackson Smith and Jigba, who almost has 1,500 receiving yards. That's just crazy in itself. But yeah, I agree wholeheartedly. You just trust your big boys up front to stop the run, which I think they're up for the task. Tyreek Williams, DJ Reader, Aleem McNeil, I think they're up for the task. You stuff the box as much as you can with those guys, maybe Jack Campbell, just kind of have him standing up front. And then I think you just have to completely sell out, like you said, to stop the pass. And you're not going to, you just have to slow it down. So you do that, you take your points, if they're going to score their points, whatever. And then you hope that your offense on the other side can kind of keep up with them. I think that's really the only way that you're going to be able to do it. You look at this Rams team that just lost to the Panthers 2 weeks ago. That's kind of how the Panthers were able to do it. They just kind of scored along with the Rams, and obviously the Panthers ended up coming out on top there. You have to keep up with them offensively. And so that's kind of the other way to look at this, is going over to our offensive side. This defense it's I don't think it's as like top heavy as someone like the Packers, who have a Micah Parsons who every single play is disrupting and making your life hell. But it's very much more so just like linear across the board. Everyone's going to be doing their best to make your day hell. Kobe Durant, for the cornerback there, has 3 interceptions on the year. You have who I think Byron Young leads their team in sacks at the moment. Like this defensive line is across the board really, really good, and it's not going to single-handedly destroy your day. But if you can kind of attack them, really get them, again, same thing, offensive line has to own the line of scrimmage, get that running game going that can open up the passing game. That's the only way you're going to be able to fend off this Rams team, is if you're able to score points and make it a track meet, and then maybe you can attack late in the game or something like that. So I think that's really going to come down to it. I think you just have to keep up with them offensively.
For sure. I mean, it's going to be a track meet. Let's break down this Rams defense just a little bit more. Yeah, you mentioned it. They are a little bit more run of the mill. They rank 13th as far as giving up yards per game with 315. However, their scoring defense, it is fierce, man. They rank second. They give up just 17.5 points per game. And a lot of it comes down to their red zone defense. We talked about their red zone, just being able to capitalize in the red zone if you're the Lions. This Rams red zone defense ranks second in the league, 42% red zone touchdown rate. And so that's really going to be the spot for me. But, this Lions offense, the red zone offense for the Lions, it actually has improved. I feel like we were struggling a little bit early on in the season, and we've kind of improved as the season has progressed. But we now rank 4th in the league, 67% touchdown rate in the red zone. So yeah, I mean, that's where the game's going to be won. But yeah, this is a track meet for sure. You mentioned it, but we now own the best offense in the league, over 30 points per game. 48 total touchdowns. This is going to be a spot where if you want to beat this Rams team, you're going to have to score on them. And that's something that nobody has done this season. Again, yeah, the Rams just giving up, under 18 points per game, which is just, I mean, that's stellar. That's so damn good. So, yeah, it seems like the Rams are okay with giving up yards between the 20s, but they really tighten down in the red zone, and they are just absolutely stellar. So, yeah, this is going to be a tough one. I don't know if we want to go into like any kind of predictions, but just for me, I'm not feeling great about this. And we said the same thing going into the Cowboys game, and obviously the team came up with a big dub. But yeah, this is going to be just I'm not going to say a tough environment. I'm hoping that there is going to be quite a few Lions fans that are going to want to beat the snow in Michigan, which I think we're getting dumped on or going to be dumped on this week. So hopefully maybe some snowbirds going down to LA, cheering on our boys. But yeah, we're going to need Lions fans. We're going to need it to be loud. It's going to be nowhere what SoFi Stadium was last night when the Eagles came to town, and it was like 92% Eagles fans. I think Rams fans are just a little bit better than Chargers fans, but yeah, we're gonna need some help. We're gonna need some help in a big way. We're gonna need a little bit of puck luck. We're gonna need the ball to bounce our way a little bit, win the turnover battle, and definitely win this red zone battle if we want to beat what I think is the best team in the league, and I think it's not particularly close.
Yeah, so I mean, I'm assuming that's kind of the matchup you're looking forward to the most, in between the Lions, the red zone battle. Yeah, yes. I'm the same way. I mean, you look at their defense; they have a Jack Campbell and Nate Landman. He's playing insane. They have a Kirby Joseph, Ball Hawks, and Brian Branch in their secondaries with Cam Curl and Cam Kitchens. They have all these guys. They have, like I said, Kobe Turner, who has 4.5 sacks on the season. Like, they have all these guys that are great on the defensive line, their defensive side, I should say. Yeah, and I mean, I'll put my prediction out there. I think the Rams come away and win this game. I think they win 34-24. I think their offense, if not, I think they're going to put up a little more than that. I think their offense is just humming. A lot of the stats are very on par, like we mentioned, with the Lions right now. But I just don't trust this Lions team, and just the eye test will tell you this Rams team is clicking on all cylinders. And I'm a little concerned with it. So we do have some college basketball to get to, but you want to give a prediction real quick too?
Yeah, I think unfortunately I'm right with you too. I do think the Lions cover the spread. I'm gonna go 24-21 Rams. I just think I think you said it perfectly, but nothing about this Lions team screams that they're ready to upset the Rams right now, especially in LA. And would obviously love to be proven wrong, but I just don't see it. So that's where I'm going with now. One last thing though, Tyler, before if worse does come to worst, Lions lose this game. Let's say they win out though. Does 11-6 get you in the playoffs? I want to hear your prediction. Is it enough, or are we outside looking in?
Yeah, I think 11-6 gets you in the playoffs. I think.
Okay.
I think that's enough. I think we're dancing there.
Okay. Yeah, and I think it's not a guarantee. I think it's probably likely, especially because you still would own that tiebreaker against the Bears. Then at that point you still need the Bears to lose again, which I think they do have another game against the Packers. So very very likely there. But yeah. I'm not feeling great at 11-6 just because the NFC is such a beast, and there's so many good teams. But you know what? We're not going to say that the season's over. If they lose this game against the Rams, it's damn near a must win, man. So we will see.
Yep, we will see. We'll come back next week and break it down. We'll see what we're sitting with, the odds to make the playoffs and everything after whatever ends up happening. So let's continue moving forward. Let's jump into some college basketball. Before we do so, you have some words from a sponsor.
Yes, yep. This college basketball segment is brought to you by our great friends at Cozy Earth. Cozy Earth's luxurious bamboo bedding and pajamas, which are loved by Oprah, Kris Jenner, and thousands of customers. They offer the ultimate in softness and cooling comfort, and our listeners can enjoy a very exclusive 41% discount with promo code GRIT at checkout. That is promo code GRIT at CozyEarth.com for 41% off your first purchase. Shout out Cozy Earth. Again, holidays are right around the corner. If you're one of those guys, which I consider myself one of those guys, more of a last minute gift getter, that go over to Cozy Earth, 41% off. You can't beat that. You really can't. For some really good bedding and pajamas. Everyone needs them. So yeah, shout out Cozy Earth.
Forget Christmas. I'm buying myself some of that stuff. Yeah, college basketball. Over the last few weeks, we've trying to mix it up a little bit. We did a little college football. We do a lot of Pistons talk because the Pistons are so fun to talk about. Over the next few weeks, we're right in the middle of the winter meetings for baseball. There's a lot probably to talk about here shortly as more stuff is unveiled about the Tigers and their winter meetings and stuff. But we're going to use this opportunity to talk about the sports of college, or the state of Michigan college basketball wise. We have two really good teams here in Michigan. We're not going to get into Western and Central and all that stuff, but we have two really good teams here in Michigan and Michigan State. Starting with the Wolverines, they are at the moment, and they're playing right now. They're putting a beat down on Villanova. They're number 2 in the country, sitting at 8-0, with wins over number 12 Gonzaga and number 21 Auburn. Both games that they won very decidedly. I think they put up 100 points in both those, winning margin of like 30 points on both those two teams. Obviously, again, so it's against number 12 and number 21. Took him a few weeks to get going, just because that's kind of how Dusty May runs his program. Different than Tom Izzo. We'll get to the Spartans here in a minute. Tom Izzo does a lot of the recruiting from high school and raises his guys up and puts them together. Dusty is very much in the transfer portal, so naturally it took some time to get all these guys to start gelling, to start playing together. It's difficult, right, when they start, they come from all over the country to start playing with each other, but they are getting it going now. As a team, they are averaging 94.6 points per game, which in itself is absolutely crazy. 45.8 rebounds per game, 21 assists per game, 6.9 steals per game, and shooting splits of 52.8%, 72.8%, and 37.7%. So that's obviously just field goal, free throw, and then three-pointer percentage. I mean, it really starts by the man at the top. Their number one target this past offseason was flirting with the NBA draft, ended up pulling out of the draft and coming to Michigan. Yaxel Lendenberg, he is insane. He is for the running for best player in the entire country. Right now, he is averaging 15.8 points per game, shooting almost 40% from three. And then the other guy they got in the transfer portal, Morez Johnson, putting 14.3 points per game. This offense is clicking. Now, they have struggled at times. They struggled against teams. I forget the two teams. I think it's TCU and Wake Forest are the two that they struggled against. That was early in the season when they're still trying to figure it out. I think this team is just like, if they are clicking, there's no one in the entire country that can stop this offense. This is a very scary offense for Michigan. The issue with them, they're averaging 13.4 turnovers per game, so they don't necessarily take care of the ball very well. And then they don't play a single ranked opponent until the end of January, in which they play number 23 Nebraska, so barely ranked, and then they play Michigan State. So we'll see where Michigan State ends up there. So, but not really being tested until then. But this Michigan offense is scary.
Yeah, they're for real, man. They are, in my opinion, right now, they are the best team in the country. They big wins against ranked opponents. Now I will say that Auburn will. I mean, I'm just looking at Auburn right now. They're a pretty good team. They're ranked just 29th in KenPom. So not anything crazy good, but still a good win. And they beat the shit out of them by like 30, right? So
yeah.
It's a monumental win. Gonzaga, another really good win. Gonzaga ranks 3rd in KenPom. Granted, this is a Gonzaga team where they're maybe playing more patty cake teams. I know it hasn't been, really conference games yet, but their conference obviously a lot weaker than something than the Big Ten. But still, Gonzaga always a perennial contender. They are, like I said, 3rd in KenPom, and Michigan spanked the shit out of them as well. So I think they're a damn good team. They're one of the best teams in the entire country. They're poised to make a deep run, and we'll see if maybe that a bit of a soft schedule will come to bite them in the ass, or maybe it won't even matter. They'll just keep rolling into January and beyond. But definitely looking forward to playing them. I think it's gonna be a battle. This is a Michigan team that has not beaten Michigan State in I think 3 seasons. It's been a while. I think we've swept them quite a few times in the last 2 or 3. So this Michigan team is going to be hungry, and I think it would be a major win if both teams split this season, just based on how good Michigan is. But they've been fantastic. I think just moving along to our boys in green and white. The number 9 team in the country. I think KenPom has us just a little bit lower at 12th, but key wins versus Kentucky, North Carolina, and Arkansas. I think that Arkansas win is going to be, just decent, but I do think that, Kentucky is going to find a way to figure it out. North Carolina is also, a pretty great team. So those are some great ones. And then, the lone loss to Duke, a team where, I should say a game where you were pretty much winning the majority of the game, kind of coughed it up at the end, but I think there is still a lot of really good things that come out of that game. Considering that this is just December and this team is growing so much, and we're, hopefully going to get a lot better from between now and March. And to have that as your lone loss, I think that, this is fantastic. One last thing that I want to say, every national champion since 2004 has been in the top 12 of the AP Week 6 rankings. That would be this week. So you have both Michigan and Michigan State firmly in that Week 6 ranking. And of course, that Week 6 it's not just coming out of nowhere. I think by then you really see who the contenders are. All of these great teams are always playing each other in the months of, October, November, December. And so I should say, November and December. So, you really see what's what by, Week 6 of this AP ranking. So yeah, that's great to see. They are obviously a contender. Michigan, obviously a contender as well. And I'm looking forward to a lot more college hoops. But yeah, this is a season where a lot of people, thought much like last season that, this Michigan State team would take, kind of more of a backseat in the Big Ten, maybe finish 6th or 7th again. And yeah, here they are a contender. They are easily one of the best teams in the Big Ten right now. And yeah, I think they're poised for a deep run. They play amazing defense. The offense is coming together better than it has in years past. The 3-point shooting has been better than it has in years past. And yeah, I like it a lot. And I think that Izzo just has a lot left in the tank. And I think we've just seen that firsthand last year and this year.
Yeah, so comparing the numbers I went over with Michigan State averages 76.6 points per game, 41.8 rebounds, 19.2 assists, 6.6 steals per game. We shoot just 33.7% from three. And average just 10.9 turnovers per game. You mentioned it. I mean, the calling card for Michigan State is defense. Our rebounding hasn't been quite up to Izzo standards, in my opinion. I think a few different times throughout the last few games we've been burned on the boards there. Jackson Kohler is leading the way for Michigan State, averaging 14.2 points per game, 9.6 rebounds per game, shooting 47% from three, which is, I mean, we saw him start to let it fly a little bit last year, and then he's just absolutely opening it up. And I mean, leading this team in 3-point shooting. You mentioned 3-point shooting is kind of where the bugaboo is for the Spartans team. Once again, it really hurts that one of the transfers we brought in shot 44% from three. In Caleb Glenn, he ended up tearing his ACL before the season even started. So kind of we're banking on him a lot. Probably was going to be a starter for us in this season. So that really hurts. But other than Jackson Kohler leading the scoring, this team wholeheartedly is led by Jeremy Fears. I mean, he's the key. Yes. So right now, he's averaging 11.6 points per game, 9.8 assists per game, which leads the Big Ten, and shooting 38% from three. He's absolutely going to be the key. He's going to lead the offense. He's going to get to the fouls. He's going to be able to dish the ball. But his scoring is going to be what takes this team to a different level. You look at the game against Duke, you mentioned we kind of coughed it up there at the end. Him, Kurtang, a lot of the other guys end up going like 2 for 15 or something from the field. Jeremy Fears is an insane talent, but you can't have your starting point guard go 0 for 11 or whatever it was he was on the day. So his scoring is going to be what differentiates this team from just being a Sweet 16 team to an Elite 8 or a Final Four team. It'll be the 3-point shooting will be Jeremy Fears' scoring ability, and for Michigan, it'll be the turnovers. If Michigan can take care of the ball and score 80 plus points a game, both these two teams have what it takes to be Final Four teams. So we'll see. Like I said, the Spartans, Michigan's real first test is going to come against Michigan State the very, very end of January. So well over a month. But we'll see, man. These are two good teams that you have to have a lot of respect for both of them. Both put together in very, very different ways, but they're both firing on all cylinders. So we'll see how we keep going. And on the recruiting trail, you already mentioned Tom Izzo is not slowing down. He is putting together an insane recruiting class. I don't have Michigan's numbers in front of me, but I know at one point Michigan State was leading the country in the 2026-2027 recruiting class. So a lot of good basketball at the moment in the state of Michigan. A lot of good basketball on its way, still coming. For the state of Michigan as well.
Hell yeah. The Michigan State still does own the best recruiting class in this upcoming class. Granted, there are still some 5-stars that are undecided, so that might shift. Michigan State might drop a little bit. But yeah, Tom Izzo still has his fastball from a coaching standpoint and then also from a recruiting standpoint. And I think that, really, I don't necessarily want to look at it this way, but I'm going to say it on the pod. But I think that we're kind of playing with house money this year in a sense where this team is already, severely overperforming what they were supposed to be on paper. If they can make it into, even a semi-deep run this year, weekend 2 tournament run like last year, and then yeah, you have that recruiting class coming in to build on that momentum. Yeah, like I said, Tom Izzo, man, he is still fucking got it, and it's beautiful. But yeah, I love what you said. Both these teams. I mean, the state of Michigan for years now has been just stellar at basketball. These teams have, been grinding. Michigan's been up and down a little bit. Michigan State's been pretty much more of the same, but I would say a little bit more up. Now both of them are very much a force to be reckoned with. I'm so pumped. January comes, whenever they play that second game of the season, hopefully they play in the tournament, the Big Ten tournament, maybe in the NCAA tournament. I need these two teams to play a lot this season. It's going to be a dogfight.
Yep. All right. Absolutely. Let's wrap up the show with some grit of the week. Before we do that, as always, you know what Grit of the Week is sponsored by. Sponsored by our friends over at Pins and Aces. Hey, you mentioned that it might be a bunch of snow in Michigan this weekend. Just because the snow is coming doesn't mean you're golfing at a stop. Go play at Top Golf, not a sponsor. Go find a simulator. And if you're going to go and do that, you got to be looking good while you do it. Pins and Aces is a Colorado-based golf brand making premium polos, head covers, and gear that perform on the course, stand out everywhere else, and will help you even if you're playing just a Top Golf or somewhere inside. These are items that are made in the USA with quality that you can feel. You can enjoy an exclusive discount with our promo code at pinsandaces.com. That's 21% off using promo code GRIT, G-R-I-T, at pinsandaces.com. Again, holiday season's right around the corner. You're going to Top Golf. Maybe you're doing a little company holiday party at Top Golf. You got to look good while you're doing it. Go to pinsandaces.com for 21% off your next purchase. My grit of the week, I'm going to go with the man that's making this defense still look pretty good. We already talked about Hutch a bunch and whether we believe in the pressure stats and whether we believe in PFF. I'm going to go with the guy who doesn't need PFF or pressures or anything like that because he's getting the old-fashioned stats. He's padding the stat book that way. That's Al-Quadin Muhammad coming off a stellar game against the Cowboys. We already mentioned it. Had 3 sacks against Dak on the Cowboys. We talked about their offensive line, who they actually was a pretty good offensive line coming into the game. He absolutely performed out of his mind. He's a guy who's really having a resurgence. I don't even think you can call it a resurgence because he never really was this top talent that he's performing at right now. He's having just a career year. You look back at his sacks. He had 6 sacks back in 2021 with the Indianapolis Colts. He has 9 on the season this year, and we still have 4 games to go. He's leading the team in sacks. He is having an insane season, really keeping this defensive line afloat and probably making Brad Holmes' life a little bit easier because if we didn't have him providing 9 sacks, the fan base would be a lot more angry with him. So shout out to Al-Quadin Muhammad, my grit of the week.
Dude, yeah, shout out Al, man. He's been awesome. I mean, he's in, he's I think he just turned 30 years old, or he's 30 now. And so he's, kind of more, I would say, on the back half of his career, and still, yeah, he's peaking at the right time. And it's exactly what we need. Like we said, this Lions team is just, backs against the walls, must win games, week in and week out. And Al-Quadin Muhammad, time and time again, he's answering that call, getting big sacks when we need it most. So yeah, shout out him, grit of the week. I'm going to stay on the gridiron. I'm going to the offensive side, a guy who we talked about, a guy who, again, I'm going to say it again. It needs to be said. I'll say it as many times as I fucking want to. But yeah, Jahmyr Gibbs, best running back in this league. He ties Barry Sanders for most touchdowns in the NFL by a player before turning the age of 24. He's still only 23. So yeah, it just has such a bright career ahead of him. But just right now, 47 touchdowns before turning 24. It's a true revelation. He's incredible. He is our Barry 2.0. Everyone who laughed at that draft pick, myself included, like egg on my face, egg on all of our faces, but it doesn't matter. It doesn't matter where we fucking drafted him because, yeah, he's incredible. Jahmyr Gibbs, and he gets another grit of the week. I don't even know how many he has now. He's stacking them up. He probably doesn't have as many as Cade, but he's getting up there, man. But here's one more for you, Gibby.
He's got to be lead top 5, maybe in top 3 in our grit of the week. Yeah, I mean, looking at Jahmyr Gibbs, you called him out. You and I both called him out a few weeks ago for being the best running back in the NFL. And some people online were a little bit mad. They were arguing Jonathan Taylor had some say in that. Just pulling up their numbers after the insane week Jahmyr Gibbs had and the kind of a stinker that Jonathan Taylor had. So Jonathan Taylor has about 300 more rushing yards than Jahmyr Gibbs and 3 more touchdowns, but has almost 90 more carries on the season than Jahmyr Gibbs does. So really the numbers are dead even. I think Jahmyr is absolutely deserving of the conversation, if not just being the best running back in the NFL. Another stellar game, like you mentioned, 3 touchdowns. I mean, we're going to need him for the rest of the year, especially with all these injuries. And now it just kind of is the huge debate of, do you sign him? Do you keep him here? It's a discussion for a different time. But we got to start talking about that because, the guy's on a Hall of Fame trajectory. So, shout out him. Shout out another grit of the week. His shelf and bookshelf has to be absolutely full of them at this point. But
and pay the man his money, man, dude. Pay the man.
Yeah, maybe we'll do a little YouTube video on whether we, an argument, a debate, embrace debate on whether you should pay the man or not. But all right, that's our show. Thank you guys for tuning into this week's episode. You can find both Kyle and I on Twitter at Kyle_Marino and myself at Dutton_Tyler. You can follow the podcast itself on Instagram or TikTok at Gridiron Report, or on Twitter at Gridiron Report 1. You can watch us on YouTube at Gridiron Report 1 as well. Finally, join the conversation next week by calling into the Gridiron Report voicemail for us to play and discuss on the podcast. That phone number is 313-306-7939. And if you like this episode, please take a moment to rate it 5 stars. Leave us a review saying so. Follow us on all forms of social media. Thank you guys for listening.
Thanks, y'all. Restore the roar, baby.
A journey, roads paved with fire, sweat, tears, and hustle that never expire. From the rookies on the rise to the old hands retired. Grit Iron is the place for fans to conspire. Hustle on, blast beats, thunder and loud. Champions are born from the roar of the crowd. The Gridiron Report, where the stories are proud. Tune in, bring the heat, make your fandom a vow. Make your fandom a vow.